The old church stood like a broken tooth in the middle of the city, its paint peeled off in long strips. The windows were so dirty you couldn't see through them anymore. Most people walked past it without looking. They were too busy, too rushed, too worried about their own problems. But inside, someone was praying. Her name was Leah, and she was only 7 years old. She knelt on the cold stone floor in a white dress that was torn at the bottom. The dress used to be pretty, maybe at a wedding or a birthday party long ago. Now it was gray with dirt. Her knees were scraped and bruised. Her hands clutched a small metal cross on a broken chain. "God," she whispered, her voice shaking, "I want to have parents." The words floated up toward the tall ceiling. They echoed off the empty walls. Nobody answered. Leah had been sleeping on the church steps for 3 nights. Each night was colder than the last. Yesterday, a kind nun with a wrinkled face had given her half a sandwich and a cup of water. That was all she'd eaten. Her stomach felt like it was eating itself from the inside. "Please," Leah said again, squeezing the cross so hard it hurt her palm. "I promise I'll be good. I'll be so good. I just want someone to love me." A tear rolled down her cheek. Then another. Then she couldn't stop them anymore. That's when the door creaked open. Leah's head snapped up. Her heart started beating fast. Was it the angry man who'd chased her away from a bakery? Was it the police who would take her to the scary building with bars on the windows? But the person who walked in wasn't angry. He wasn't police either. He was tall, really tall. He wore a black coat that looked expensive, shinier than anything Leah had ever seen. His shoes clicked on the stone floor with each step. His face was hard, like it had forgotten how to smile a long time ago. Daniel Hayes stopped walking when he saw her. He hadn't meant to come inside. He hated churches. They reminded him of things he wanted to forget, of being a little boy with no food, of adults who promised to help but never did, of learning that the only person you could trust was yourself. But something had pulled him through that door. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it was something else. Now he stared at the little girl kneeling in the shadows. Leah stared back. Her eyes were huge and green and full of tears. She looked like a ghost in that dirty white dress. "Are you God?" she asked in a tiny voice. Daniel almost laughed. Almost. But the sound died in his throat. "No," he said. His voice came out harder than he meant it to. "I'm not God." "Oh." Leah's shoulders slumped. She looked down at her cross again. "Then do you know him?" Daniel's jaw tightened. He wanted to leave. He should leave. This wasn't his problem. He had a meeting in 20 minutes. Important people were waiting for him. He had a company to run, money to make, deals to close. But his feet wouldn't move. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Praying." Leah wiped her nose with the back of her hand. "I've been praying for 3 days. 3 days?" Daniel looked around the empty church. "Where are your parents?" Leah's face crumpled. "I don't have any. That's what I'm praying for. I want someone to take care of me. I want—" Her voice broke. "I want to go home. But I don't have a home." Something twisted in Daniel's chest. Something he thought had died years ago when he'd clawed his way out of poverty. When he'd built his fortune by being cold and smart and ruthless. When he decided that caring about people only made you weak. "You been sleeping here?" he asked. Leah nodded. "On the steps outside. It's cold, but the church roof keeps some of the rain off." "What about food?" "A nice lady gave me half a sandwich yesterday." Leah's stomach growled, so loud they both heard it. Her cheeks turned pink. "So Daniel closed his eyes. "Walk away," he told himself. "This isn't your responsibility. You can't save every kid in the city. You tried that once, remember? You gave money to charity and they wasted it. You helped your cousin and he stole from you. People disappoint you. Always." But when he opened his eyes, Leah was still there. Still kneeling. Still clutching that broken cross. Still hoping. "Does God hear me?" she asked quietly. "I keep praying, but nothing happens. Maybe I'm doing it wrong." "You're not doing it wrong," Daniel heard himself say. "Then why hasn't he answered?" Daniel didn't know what to say to that. He'd asked the same question when he was young, when he was hungry, when he was alone. He'd never gotten an answer that satisfied him. Maybe he started, then stopped. What was he doing? Why was he still talking to her? But Leah was looking at him with those huge green eyes, waiting. Maybe prayers don't always get answered inside churches, Daniel said slowly. Maybe sometimes the answer walks through the door. Leah tilted her head. What do you mean? Daniel took a deep breath. He was going to regret this. He knew he was going to regret this. But his mouth kept moving anyway. Come with me, he said. Leah's eyes went even wider. Where? Somewhere warm. Somewhere with food. But I don't know you. No, Daniel agreed. You don't. But I'm here, aren't I? And you're praying for someone to care. So maybe... He held out his hand. Maybe I'm supposed to listen. Leah looked at his hand, then at his face, then at the cross in her palm. She was so small, so thin, so scared. But somewhere deep inside, deeper than the hunger and the cold and the fear, was a spark of hope that refused to die. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and put her tiny hand in his. It was like touching ice. Daniel's fingers closed around hers gently. Her hand was so small it almost disappeared in his. What's your name? He asked. Leah. I'm Daniel. He helped her stand. Her legs shook. How long had she been kneeling there? When was the last time you ate a real meal? Leah had to think about it. I don't remember. Daniel's jaw clenched. Come on. As they walked toward the door, Leah looked back at the altar one more time. Thank you, she whispered. Daniel didn't know if she was talking to God or to him. Maybe both. Outside, the wind bit at their faces. Leah had no coat. Her thin dress did nothing against the cold. She started shivering immediately. Without thinking, Daniel shrugged off his expensive coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. It dragged on the ground. She looked like a child playing dress-up. Won't you be cold? She asked, looking up at him. Daniel looked down at her, at this tiny girl who'd spent 3 nights on stone steps, praying for a miracle. I'll be fine, he said, and for the first time in 20 years, he meant it. Daniel's car was parked across the street. Leah had never seen anything like it. It was long and black and so shiny she could see her reflection in it. The reflection looked like a stranger, a small, dirty girl with tangled hair and sad eyes. Is this yours? She whispered. Yes. Daniel opened the back door. Get in. Leah hesitated. Her mother, before she disappeared, had told her never to get in cars with strangers. But that was before 3 nights on stone steps. Before the hunger had become so bad she'd thought about eating grass. Before she'd prayed so hard her throat hurt. She climbed inside. The seat was softer than any bed she could remember. It was warm, too. Heat poured from vents she couldn't see. Leah's whole body started to relax for the first time in days. Daniel got in the driver's seat. He glanced at her in the mirror. She looked so tiny back there, drowning his coat, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. Put your seatbelt on, he said. My what? He showed her. His hands were gentle as he helped her click it into place. As they drove through the city, Leah pressed her face against the window. She watched people walking on sidewalks. People with coats and shoes and places to go. People who belong somewhere. Where are we going? She asked. To see a doctor first. Leah's heart jumped. I'm not sick. I know, but we need to make sure you're okay. You haven't eaten in days, Leah. That's not good for your body. Will it hurt? No. Daniel's voice was firm. I promise. The doctor will just check you over. Make sure everything works right. Leah nodded, but she gripped the edge of the seat. The clinic was private. That meant it cost a lot of money, but also that it was quiet. No waiting rooms full of coughing people. No long lines. A nurse with kind eyes led Leah to a small room. Daniel came too. He stood in the corner, watching as the doctor examined her. Dr. Chin was a small woman with gray hair and gentle hands. She checked Leah's heart, her breathing, her eyes and ears. She asked questions about when Leah had last eaten, last slept in a real bed, last felt safe. Leah answered honestly. She had nothing to hide anymore. When Dr. Chin measured Leah's weight, her mouth became a thin line. She's severely underweight, Dr. Chin said quietly to Daniel, and dehydrated. Her body temperature is too low. She has bruises at different stages of healing. She looked at him hard. How long has she been on the streets? I don't know, Daniel said. I just found her. Found her in a church. She was praying. Dr. Chen's expression softened slightly. She turned back to Leah. Sweetheart, can you tell me how long you've been alone? Leah's voice was small. I don't know. A long time. My mama left to get medicine for me when I was sick. She said she'd be right back. But she never came back. The landlord made me leave our apartment. I didn't have anywhere to go. Dr. Chen's eyes glistened. How long ago was that? I think maybe 2 months? I'm not sure. The days all look the same. 2 months. Daniel felt his stomach turn. This little girl had survived on the streets for 2 months. Dr. Chen hooked Leah up to N4 to give her fluids. Leah watched the tube going into her arm with wide eyes. Does it hurt? Daniel asked. A little. Leah tried to be brave. But it's okay. While they waited for the fluids to work, Dr. Chen pulled Daniel into the hallway. That child needs immediate care, she said. Food, shelter, stability. She also needs... Dr. Chen paused. She needs someone to love her. She's been through trauma. You can see it in her eyes. I know. Are you family? No. Then I'm required by law to call social services. Daniel's jaw tightened. I understand. But I want to be there when they come. I want to make sure she's not just thrown into the system and forgotten. Dr. Chen studied him. Most people would have walked away by now. I'm not most people. No, Dr. Chen agreed. I suppose you're not. The social workers arrived 30 minutes later. There were 2 of them, a tired-looking man named Mr. Garcia and a woman with sharp eyes named Ms. Patterson. They asked Daniel 100 questions. How did he know Leah? Why was he involved? What were his intentions? My intention, Daniel said carefully, is to make sure she's safe. That's all. That's admirable, Ms. Patterson said. But we have procedures. We need to place her in emergency foster care while we search for family members. She doesn't have family, Daniel said. Her mother abandoned her. We'll still need to verify that. Leah had been quiet during all this, lying in the hospital bed with the 4 in her arm. But now she sat up. The 4-pole rattled. Please don't take me away, she said. Her voice shook. Please. Daniel said he'd keep me safe. He promised. I didn't promise, Daniel started, but then he stopped, because Leah was looking at him with those huge green eyes, and they were filling with tears. You said, maybe you were supposed to listen, Leah whispered. You said, maybe prayers get answered outside churches. Was that a lie? Everyone in the room fell silent. Daniel crouched down next to her bed. Leah, these people want to help you. They'll find you a nice family. I don't want a nice family. I want you. The words hit Daniel like a punch to the chest. You don't know me, he said quietly. You gave me your coat. You brought me here. You stayed. A tear rolled down her cheek. Nobody else stayed. Daniel looked at Ms. Patterson. What would it take for me to get temporary guardianship? Ms. Patterson blinked. You're serious? Completely? Well, there would be background checks, home inspections, court hearings, and even then, temporary guardianship to a non-relative is unusual, especially for someone with no experience with children. But possible? Technically, yes, if you pass all the requirements. But it could take weeks, maybe months. Then we start now. Daniel stood. Until then, I want supervised custody. I'll hire a social worker to stay with us 24/7, if I have to. But she's not going to a group home where she's just another number. Mr. Garcia and Ms. Patterson exchanged glances. This is highly irregular, Ms. Patterson said. I don't care if it's irregular. I care if it's possible. They talked for another hour. Forms were filled out. Phone calls were made. Dr. Chen wrote a recommendation that separating Leah from Daniel right now could cause additional trauma. Finally, Ms. Patterson sighed. 48 hours. We'll allow supervised temporary custody for 48 hours while we begin processing your application. A caseworker will check in daily. But Mr. Hayes, if anything seems wrong, anything at all, we will remove her immediately. Understood. Leah's face broke into the first smile Daniel had seen. It was like watching the sun come out from behind clouds. Thank you, she breathed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As they prepared to leave the clinic, Dr. Chen pulled Daniel aside one more time. You know what you're getting into? She asked. Not really, Daniel admitted. But I know what happens if I walk away. And I can't do that. Why? You didn't even know her this morning. Daniel was quiet for a moment. When I was young, I prayed for someone to save me too. Nobody came. I'm not letting that happen to her. Dr. Chen smiled. Then I think she's very lucky. Outside, the sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink and purple. Leah stood on the sidewalk, holding Daniel's hand, staring up at the colors. It's pretty, she said. Yes, Daniel agreed. It is. He had a penthouse apartment across town, a place with tall windows and expensive furniture and everything a person could want, except, until today, someone to share it with. Ready? He asked. Leah nodded. She squeezed his hand. Together, they walked toward his car, toward whatever came next. Neither of them knew if this would work. Neither of them knew if they could really become a family. But for the first time in a long time, both of them had something they'd lost. Hope. The first person to cause trouble was a reporter. Her name was Jessica Lang, and she had a camera crew and a microphone, and a hunger for stories that would get people talking. Someone at the clinic had leaked information about the millionaire who'd picked up a homeless girl. By the time Daniel and Leah reached his building, 3 news vans were parked outside. Mr. Hayes. Jessica shoved her microphone toward him as he tried to get Leah past. Is it true you've taken in a homeless child? What are your intentions? Daniel kept walking, his hand protective on Leah's shoulder. No comment. Are you trying to adopt her? Is this a publicity stunt? Leah pressed closer to Daniel. The cameras scared her. The bright lights hurt her eyes. The reporters shouted questions that didn't make sense. Some people are saying this is inappropriate, Jessica continued, her heels clicking as she followed. A wealthy bachelor taking a young girl. He doesn't know. What do you say to those concerns? Daniel stopped. He turned to face her, his eyes cold. I say that while you're asking questions, that little girl was starving, while you're worried about what's appropriate. She was sleeping on stone steps in the freezing cold. So no, I don't care what people think. I care that she's safe. He didn't wait for a response. He guided Leah into the building, past the doorman who quickly shut the glass doors behind them. In the elevator, Leah was quiet. She held Daniel's hand tight. Are you mad? She asked in a small voice. Not at you. Never at you. Those people said bad things. Some people always say bad things. It doesn't make them true. The elevator rose smoothly toward the top floor. Leah, this is going to be hard. People are going to ask questions. They're going to judge us. But as long as you and I know the truth, that's what matters. Okay. Leah nodded, but she looked worried. The elevator doors opened directly into Daniel's penthouse. Leah stepped out and froze. She had never seen a place like this. The ceilings were so high, they seemed to touch the sky. Windows covered entire walls, showing the city sparkling below like a blanket of stars. The furniture was white and soft. The floors were so shiny she could see her reflection. Is this heaven? She whispered. Despite everything, Daniel almost smiled. No, it's just an apartment. It's the biggest apartment in the whole world. It's big, Daniel admitted. Sometimes too big. It gets lonely. Leah looked up at him. You get lonely, but you have everything. Having things isn't the same as having someone to share them with. Daniel led her further inside. Are you hungry? Leah's stomach answered before she could. It growled so loud they both heard it. Daniel's kitchen was huge and mostly empty. He didn't cook much. Usually he ordered food or went to restaurants. But tonight, he needed to do this himself. He made her scrambled eggs, toast with butter, and sliced fruit. Simple things. Dr. Chin had warned him that Leah's stomach needed to adjust slowly after days of barely eating. Leah sat at the counter and watched him cook. She couldn't stop staring at the food as it appeared on the plate. "Go ahead," Daniel said, sliding it in front of her. She picked up the fork with shaking hands. The first bite of eggs made her eyes close. She chewed slowly, like she was afraid it might disappear. "Good," Daniel asked. Leah nodded. A tear rolled down her cheek. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," she said quickly. I forgot food could taste like this. I forgot what warm feels like." She took another bite. "Thank you." Daniel watched her eat. Something inside his chest, something he thought was dead and buried, woke up. It hurt, but it was a good hurt, like blood flowing back into a sleeping limb. After dinner, he showed her the guest bedroom. It had a big bed with soft blankets, a closet, even a bathroom attached. "This is yours," he said. Leah walked around the room, touching everything gently. The dresser, the lamp, the curtains, like she was afraid if she touched too hard, it would all vanish. "Just mine?" she asked. "Just yours? Nobody else sleeps here?" "Nobody." She climbed onto the bed and sank into it. It's so soft, like sleeping on a cloud. Daniel found some of his old T-shirts. They were huge on her, but they'd work as pajamas until he could buy her real clothes tomorrow. As Leah changed in the bathroom, Daniel's phone buzzed. Text messages poured in. His assistant, his lawyer, his business partners, all asking questions, all worried about the media attention. He turned the phone off. When Leah came out, drowning in his shirt, she looked even smaller than before. "Daniel," she said quietly. "Yes." "Will you stay? Just until I fall asleep?" He should say no. He had calls to make, plans to arrange, court papers to file. But looking at her face, so hopeful and so scared, he couldn't. "Okay." He sat in a chair next to the bed. Leah climbed under the covers and stared at him. "Tell me a story," she asked. "I don't know any stories." "Then tell me about you. Where did you grow up?" Daniel was quiet for a long time. He never talked about his past. Never. But Leah kept watching him with those green eyes, waiting. "I grew up poor," he finally said, "in a small apartment with peeling wallpaper and broken windows. My parents died when I was young. I went to foster home, but it wasn't good. So I left. I lived on the streets for a while, just like you." Leah's eyes widened. "Really? Really? I was scared all the time. Hungry all the time. Angry all the time. What happened? I decided I never wanted to feel that way again. So I worked. I worked harder than anyone else. I went to school, got a job, started a business. I made money. Lots of money. Enough that I'd never be hungry again. Did it make you happy?" The question caught Daniel off guard. "I thought it did. I thought if I had enough money, enough power, enough success, I'd finally feel safe. But," he looked at her, "having things isn't the same as having someone who cares about you. I forgot that." "I care about you," Leah said simply. Daniel's throat felt tight. "You don't know me. I know enough. I know you stopped when everyone else walked by. I know you gave me your coat, even though you were cold. I know you're trying to keep me safe." She yawned. "That's enough." Slowly, her eyes started to close. She fought it, wanted to stay awake, but her body was exhausted. "Will you be here in the morning?" she mumbled. "Yes." "Promise?" "Promise." Leah smiled, a small, sleepy smile. "Okay. Good night, Daniel." "Good night, Leah." Within minutes, she was asleep. Her breathing became slow and steady. Her face relaxed. For the first time in months, maybe years, she looked peaceful. Daniel sat there for a long time, just watching her sleep. This tiny person who'd crashed into his life like a meteor, who'd taken his careful, controlled world and turned it upside down in a single day. He should be scared. He should be questioning everything. But instead, he felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Purpose. The next few weeks were chaos. The court process moved slowly like all legal things do. There were interviews, home inspections, background checks. Ms. Patterson came by twice a week to observe them together. The media attention got worse before it got better. Reporters camped outside his building. Think pieces were written online. Some people praised him. Others accused him of having dark motives. The word, grooming, was thrown around until Daniel's lawyer threatened lawsuits. Through it all, Leah stayed close to his side. He bought her clothes, real clothes that fit, shoes that didn't have holes, toys she'd never dreamed of owning. But the thing she loved most was something he couldn't buy. Routine. Every morning, Daniel made her breakfast. Every night, he tucked her in. They watched movies together on the big couch. She told him about her dreams. He told her about his work. Slowly, carefully, they built something that felt like family. One night, 3 weeks after that first meeting in the church, Daniel sat on the edge of Leah's bed. "I got a call from the judge today," he said. Leah sat up fast. "What did they say?" "They approved temporary foster placement. It'll last for 6 months. After that, if everything goes well, we can make it permanent." He paused. "If you want to." "If I want to?" Leah's voice rose. "Of course I wanna. You're my—" She stopped, suddenly shy. "Can I call you Dad?" Daniel felt his eyes burn. He blinked hard. "I'd like that." Leah threw her arms around his neck. She held on tight, like she was afraid he'd disappear. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for hearing my prayer." Daniel hugged her back. This little girl who'd been praying in a broken church. This miracle in a dirty white dress. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for saving me too." Because that's what she'd done. She'd saved him from a life of having everything and feeling nothing. She'd reminded him that money could buy comfort, but only love could buy happiness. 6 months later, the adoption was finalized. Daniel stood in the courtroom in his best suit, holding Leah's hand, as a judge declared them officially a family. Leah wore a new white dress, clean and pretty, with ribbons in her hair. She looked like a completely different girl from the one he'd found, but her eyes were the same. Still green, still full of hope. "Do you have anything you'd like to say?" the judge asked. Leah nodded. She looked at Daniel. "I prayed for parents. God, send me the best one in the whole world." Daniel knelt down and hugged her. Around them, people clapped. His lawyer, Ms. Patterson, who'd become their biggest supporter. Even Dr. Chun, who'd taken the day off to attend. As they left the courthouse, cameras flashed. But this time, Daniel didn't hide. He held Leah's hand and walked with his head high. "Mr. Hayes, how does it feel?" a reporter called. Daniel looked down at Leah. She smiled up at him, that smile that had changed his entire life. "It feels," he said, "like coming home." That night, they went to the old church. Together, they lit a candle and placed it near the altar where Leah had knelt all those weeks ago. "Thank you," Leah whispered. As they walked out into the night, into their new life together, Daniel realized something. Prayers don't always get answered the way you expect. Sometimes they're answered in quiet ways, in small moments, in the choice to stop instead of walking past, in the decision to care instead of turning away. Leah had prayed for parents and found a father. Daniel had prayed for meaning, though he'd forgotten he was praying at all, and found a daughter. 2 broken people made whole by love. If this story touched your heart, please share, and subscribe. Remember, every small act of kindness can change a life. Every prayer whispered in darkness can bring light. You never know when you might be the answer to someone's prayer. Look around you today. Who needs you to stop and listen? Who needs you to care? Be the miracle someone is praying for.